The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content and is sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.
In 1985, there were 520 million motor vehicles in the world, nearly 2 times the number of cars in 1975. The good news is natural gas as an alternative fuel could reduce car emissions by 25%, and electric cars produce no emissions at all. I'm Ed Begley Jr. Join me as we explore other environmental alternatives on today's environment.
Today, City Council in effect with 9,000
reducing air pollutants by
a
30%.
milestone.
Educational programs.
Our air is constantly being contaminated by pollutants. When you think about where these contaminants come from, it's hard to believe the average American home is responsible for producing a large amount of carbon dioxide emissions each year. Next, we'll look at another environmentally sensitive issue.
We recycle paper to save trees that are a precious commodity to our environment as well as the paper industry. Today, when manufacturing paper, some trees are used in their entirety, bark, branches, and all, as usable chips for paper manufacturing and fuel to power the paper manufacturing plant. Over the past few years, concerns over paper production have branched out to include the waste generated by nearly 600 pulping, paper, and paperboard mills in the United States, pulping mills in particular. These mills take wood and break down the hard glue-like lignin that holds wood fibers tightly together. In chemical pulping, the lignin glue is dissolved to create a brownish pulp which later needs to be bleached again if used to make white paper. Often, the bleach used to whiten the pulp is made up of mostly chlorine compounds. These chlorine compounds break down the remaining lignin into many compounds, remove them from the pulp fibers, and bleach the fibers. The many waste compounds that are formed are called chlorinated organic compounds. The impact of these compounds on the environment has been an issue of concern. These compounds are released in one of 3 ways. They can be in the pulp that will eventually be made into paper. They can be in the sludge generated by the mill's on-site wastewater treatment facility, or in the water which is discharged from the treatment plant into rivers and streams. One example of extreme environmental concern relating to chlorinated organic compounds came in the late 1980s when the Environmental Protection Agency conducted confidential tests on pulp mills that used chlorine as a bleach. These tests revealed that some of the compounds generated were dioxins. These dioxins, besides being toxic, decompose very slowly. But today, dioxins are not detectable in the discharge from most mills because the industry has cut back on its use of chlorine and on the amount of water being discharged into waterways. Although several studies indicate no negative impact of these compounds discharged to the environment, still the pulp industry searches for bleaching methods that will reduce their need for them. Environmental restrictions have not been clearly established in these areas, but consumer demands for products bleached without chlorine are increasing. Helping the industry to meet environmental needs, both government restrictions and consumer demands, and to deliver a final paper product of affordable quality is a challenge facing all paper mills and equipment makers. Ingersoll Rand's IMCO product group in Nashua, New Hampshire is researching, designing, and manufacturing equipment that will help pulp mills respond to consumers' environmental demands. They focused on creating a new washer to reduce the water needed for the process. Today, these washers are as much as half the size of older designs, saving mills energy and reducing bleach plant discharges that eventually go into our rivers and streams. IMCO has also been active in new equipment designs that use oxygen compounds for bleaching instead of chlorine. This keeps chlorinated organic compounds from being formed and then released into our land, air, and water. Alternative paper bleaching is giving us a brighter outlook for the future as we recycle and create new paper by the best means possible.
Geothermal energy is a process of converting heat from the earth into usable power. It is also one of the least expensive forms of electricity generated. Today's environment looks more closely at this powerful form of energy.
For years, America has relied on coal, fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, and nuclear power to supply our electricity. These fuels are used to heat water and create the steam that turns a turbine, which drives a generator to create electricity. The problem with the fuels is the amount of pollutants they release into the atmosphere and their waste disposal. The fuel smoke has been linked to acid rain, which is created when harmful gases combine with water droplets in the air to make highly corrosive acids, which could hurt fish, lakes, streams, and damage crops and forests. These pollutants are also believed to have caused smog and the greenhouse effect, in which gases trap heat in the air and threaten to warm the planet, taking a toll on each of us by affecting plant life, water resources, the climate, and much more. Coal, oil, and gas emissions affect us all, but can cause more serious problems for people with heart and lung disease. A clean natural resource was needed to heat the water and produce electricity without these harmful consequences. Some power plants are using an all-natural approach to producing steam. They're pulling hot water and steam from beneath the Earth's surface to generate electricity. They're called geothermal plants. With geothermal energy, nothing is burned, and therefore no combustion products are emitted. This is beneficial for the environment and our national economy, since there is no consumption of foreign fuel involved. This type of energy production is nothing new. The Italians were the first to use geothermal energy in 1904 and are still producing it today. The California Energy Company is an independent producer of electricity. All of the company's facilities are powered by geothermal steam, a natural, clean resource. Geothermal steam is produced when water below the Earth's surface is heated by hot molten rock called magma. These hot spots are found mostly along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where volcanoes are more likely to exist. The California Energy Company controls more than 500,000 acres of land considered to have a great potential for geothermal resources, enough to make the electricity needed by millions of Americans. The company drills into the geothermal reservoir, bringing up natural steam which spins specially designed turbines and drives generator units. The hot water and steam are found in tiny spaces in the rocks. 95% of this water comes from normal rainfall that seeps into the earth. The rain continues to refill the reservoir while the heat in the rocks continues to turn the water into steam. These resources are expected to last for hundreds of years if managed properly. Since the rain alone is not always enough to replace all the water utilized by the power plants, the company conserves the used water by returning it to the reservoir through injection wells. This recycles the water, which is reheated by the natural furnace of the Earth's heat. Oil, natural gas, and other mineral resources are not renewable. They simply burn away into our atmosphere, leaving behind pollution. In California, 6% of all energy used is made from geothermal steam, heating schools, lighting businesses, cooking meals, and warming the waters of fisheries. This saves the country over 2 billion gallons of oil a year, and the atmosphere from its harmful emissions.
The U.S. produces 70% of the world's solid waste. We must take reducing our waste, recycling, and composting more seriously. Till that time, dumping our garbage into landfills will remain a major problem. Next, we'll take a look at a way to treat waste instead of discarding it.
The responsible disposal of industrial hazardous waste and other special solid wastes represents a major challenge for this country. In the United States, approximately 240 million tons of hazardous wastes and 12 billion tons of special wastes are generated each year. Special waste consists of large volume industrial and municipal wastes, such as tires and sewage sludge. This amounts to more than 50 tons of waste per person. A significant portion of the hazardous and special wastes are actually dusts or ash produced by various furnace, incineration, and combustion processes. The simple solution for the disposal in the past has been the dumping of these materials in landfills. However, many of these are now closed, and the ones remaining open are near capacity. The problem is further compounded by the long-term health and safety issues associated with landfilling hazardous materials. The dissolving of chemicals or heavy metals such as lead into the water table is of particular concern. Federal regulations have made hazardous waste disposal the responsibility of the generating industry. Any company choosing to bury its waste places itself at future risk because it is their responsibility forever. To meet these challenges, Vortec Corporation, headquartered in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, has developed with assistance from the United States Department of Energy and the Environmental Protection Agency a new technology which will allow these materials to be kept out of landfills and recycled into different products. The waste materials introduced into Vortec's patented combustion and melting system, or CMS, are transformed into a stable glass product. This process is known as vitrification. Rather than surrounding or encapsulating it, this process permanently bonds the waste matter into glass. The result is a glass matrix that resists chemical attack and the leaching or seeping out of the trapped metals. The process can be utilized for the treatment and long-term safe disposal of hazardous wastes such as contaminated soil, asbestos, and even radioactive wastes. For some industrial waste, such as boiler, municipal, or sewage sludge incinerator ash, the glass materials produced can be recycled and reused as filler for road asphalt paving or in the production of bricks, concrete blocks, and asphalt shingles. At the heart of this system is the counter-rotating vortex, or CRV combustor, and the cyclone melter. The CRV combustor uses opposing streams of air to suspend and mix the waste materials as it rapidly heats them to their melting temperatures. During this phase, many of the organic contaminants are vaporized and safely oxidized. The heated particles are then fed into the cyclone melter with temperatures reaching 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Waste materials and glass-forming ingredients are mixed and blended to form a molten liquid layer along the inside walls of the vessel. The molten glass and combustion gases enter a reservoir where the glass is trapped. The gases are sent into a scrubber where they're cleansed before being released into the atmosphere. For most applications, the glass is simply cooled with water as it exits the separator. And once the hazardous waste is fused within the glass, it's there for eternity. Swirling dust, poisonous gases, dangerous fumes, and lung-damaging microscopic particles are found in abundance during a volcanic eruption, one of nature's most awesome displays of environmental destruction. The same health-threatening pollutants can be found every day in the workplace, sometimes in dangerous concentrations. Wood dust, for example, is responsible for growing rates of nasal cancer and possible lung impairment among woodworkers. Exposure to cadmium, chromium, and nickel, the byproducts of some types of welding, pose a threat to welders. Studies estimate that 8 hours of welding without protection from the fumes is equivalent to smoking as many as 25 cigarettes a day. Use of innovations like the Torrent trunk-line fume collection systems from the Donaldson Company provides clean air for welders at work. This enclosed stationary workstation, or environmental control booth, can filter as much as 99.999% of hazardous dust particles from the air, making the worker's environment safe and comfortable. A downflow dust collector can be used to filter the air from multiple workstations or even entire manufacturing plants, filtering contaminants from a variety of processes and industries, including foundries, pharmaceutical manufacturing, metal grinding, furniture making, and others. All dust collection systems use a material known as filter media. Media is a porous, fibrous substance designed to trap dust and other contaminants while letting the clean air flow through. To achieve the very high efficiency rates mentioned here, a unique layer of synthetic fibers on the surface of the media is added. This traps the dust on the surface of the filter where it can be easily cleaned off during a manual or automatic cleaning process. Technology like this is only possible with sophisticated research and development capabilities, laboratory testing facilities, and state-of-the-art scientific equipment. The process begins when scientists analyze the contaminating particles. They use a supercomputer to accommodate the complex modeling programs. This helps them design the most efficient filtration system for that particular pollutant. By using the right system, air in the workplace can be kept 99.999% free of microscopic particles, which are far smaller than the eye can see. The company is also working with diesel-powered vehicles which require both air filters and noise-reducing mufflers. The mufflers protect people from engine noise, while the air filters protect the engines from dust. There is new technology for diesel engines called the Diesel Particulate Trap Oxidizer, which enable these heavy-duty engines to meet stringent EPA emission guidelines. Just think, no more black smog from buses. Even sterilization processes used in hospitals can produce carcinogenic and environmentally dangerous gases. The ETO abater neutralizes ethylene oxide and other volatile organic compounds safely. The technology for a clean, healthy environment is available, but it's up to us to see that the standards for clean, breathable air are upheld. Environmentally conscious companies like the Donaldson Company are committed to shaping a better future for the entire planet. Thanks to this dedicated company, we can breathe a lot easier.
We are now recognizing the importance of our wetlands and their contribution to a healthy environment. Wetlands stabilize shorelines to prevent erosion and help maintain water quality. Today's environment found a way to preserve wetlands and keep them from drying up.
In colonial days, much of the United States was unspoiled, virgin territory. The forests were dense, the rivers ran free, and fields were untouched by plows. As the pioneers and homesteaders migrated west, the look of the land began to change. Farms dotted the landscape, and eventually agriculture grew to become the massive and critically important industry that it is today. But farming brought changes to American soil, just as the growth of the cities made concrete imprints on previously untouched land. Among the areas most affected by agricultural and urban development were our nation's wetlands. Wetlands can be found across the country, wherever land and water meet. They can be famous like Florida's scenic Everglades, or tucked remotely away along a winding river. Because of the need to grow more products to feed our rapidly expanding population, many wetland areas have been drained to make way for farms and fields, and cities have tapped them as sources for drinking water. A national study estimated that 54% of American wetlands have vanished. From the mid-1950s to the mid-70s, more than 11 million acres have disappeared. The loss of wetlands is devastating to wildlife, as they provide nesting and breeding grounds for millions of ducks and other birds each year. Many other animals find food and shelter there also. These areas also help to reduce flood damage by storing excess water and releasing it more slowly, and they cleanse water of silt and chemicals from farms and other sources. They're important recreational areas too, giving us natural destinations for fishing, hiking, and to study the environment. Many government agencies and environmental groups are taking steps to protect wetlands from further destruction and to restore them to their natural condition. In some areas, private industry is joining the cause. One such company is Western Resources, which provides gas and electric service in Kansas, western Missouri, and northern Oklahoma. Along the upper Verdigris River in Oklahoma, they worked with the state to convert a 1,200-acre abandoned oil field to wetlands. They installed a system of dikes to control water flow. This promotes the growth of vegetation in the summer, which in turn provides food for migratory birds in the autumn and spring. Conservation groups, such as the Newata Duck Savers Club, started by Western Resource employees, also are helping with the project by building nesting boxes to encourage ducks to make the area their home. The wetlands will incorporate hiking trails with fishing areas. The company is pursuing similar goals in Kansas on the 10,000 acres surrounding its Jeffrey Energy Center. It's creating new wetlands to provide homes for ducks and to promote the growth of vegetation. At the center, reservoirs are already popular with migratory birds and local fishermen. These new wetlands will improve the quality of water that is returned to the river following the power generating process. Western Resources has turned its attention to dry land at the Jeffrey Energy Center as well, by working to restore native grasslands. By planting grass and wildflowers and strengthening them through controlled burning, they're conserving the soil and providing new homes and food sources for wildlife. Wetlands restoration is a cause we can all support. By returning these valuable areas to their natural state, we're helping the wildlife with whom we share the planet Earth.
Old-growth forests are defined as having trees that are at least 150 years old. In the United States, only 5% of the original forests are left. This land has not been recognized as being unique and irreplaceable until recently. Today's Environment explored the dynamics of this ecosystem and what's being done to protect it.
Without trees and forests, our ecosystem wouldn't function. Water quality would suffer severely. Most plant species would die if not protected from the sun by the forest's cooling blanket. And the greenhouse effect would intensify, making the Earth experience progressively warmer temperatures because of gases like carbon dioxide that trap heat in our atmosphere. Without trees and forests, many animal species would become extinct. Since the beginning of time, nature has had the perfect recycling plan. Nothing goes to waste, and everything is regenerated, even the air we breathe. While humans and animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, plants do the opposite. They absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis and emit oxygen. Consider the critical contribution that trees make for all of us. From elementary school students to retirees, people are planting trees in their schoolyards and backyards to make a difference. The Pella Corporation, a leading manufacturer and marketer of wood windows and doors in Pella, Iowa, has long been bringing the great outdoors indoors. Recently, they've embarked on an ambitious program to increase the awareness of the value of trees and their role in our environment. They've joined forces with the National Arbor Day Foundation to support responsible forestry through the education of children, builders, and architects. Second graders across the country are working with the Grow Your Own Tree Kits. Complete with film strips, posters, and even tree seedlings, the kits provide the students a hands-on lesson in horticulture. The Building with Trees program promotes responsible building practices to builders and architects. The program teaches them the latest technologies for preparing building sites without removing or destroying the surrounding landscape. The Pella Corporation is also involved in the building of the new National Arbor Day Environmental Education Complex. The LEED Conference Center in Nebraska City, Nebraska is scheduled for completion in the fall of 1993. They're donating all of the windows and French doors needed to build the 260-acre center. The building will feature an on-site energy forest plantation, educational displays, its own recycling center, orchards, and much more. The company sees the value in renewable resources and reusing wood. At their manufacturing facility, nothing is wasted, not even sawdust. It's transported through overhead ducts to a neighboring manufacturer specializing in pressed wood products and animal bedding. A plant-wide program has recycled over 35 tons of paper. Proceeds from the program are helping to fund a reforestation project at Lake Red Rock in Iowa through the involvement in their local Trees Forever Committee and the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation. The company is working through local high school students toward responsible forestry. All of these steps are geared toward enlightening each individual on the difference one person can make.
The world is rapidly changing. More and more countries recognize the need to protect our environment, reduce harmful pollution, and manage resources more wisely. This was never more evident than at the 1992 Earth Summit, where over 160 countries and more than 20,000 representatives met to discuss pressing environmental issues such as air and water pollution, deforestation, and worldwide conservation. I'm Ed Begley Jr. Join me next week as we explore more environmental solutions on Today's Environment.
If you know of any interesting environmental success stories, call us at 407-997-9800. This has been a presentation of 5-Star Productions USA. The preceding program was sponsored in part by a grant from Paul Mitchell Salon Hair Care.